The Vancouver Canucks have made a move in hopes of improving their future prospects, trading forward Curtis Lazar to the New Jersey Devils for a fourth-round pick in the 2024 NHL Draft. Lazar, who still has 2 years left on his contract with a $1 million cap hit, was signed by the Canucks just this past offseason. The hope was that he would be able to stabilize the team's bottom six and help with the penalty kill, which has been struggling mightily this season. However, things didn't exactly go according to plan. In fact, the Canucks currently have the worst penalty kill in the NHL and are on pace to be the worst in league history. So, it's not surprising that Lazar was on the move, especially since the Canucks did not see him as a key piece for their future. If you want to stay up to date on all the latest NHL news and trades, hit the like button and subscribe to our channel now. Lazar's trade to the Devils was announced shortly after he was activated from the injured reserve list but did not play in Thursday's game against the Minnesota Wild. The move makes sense for both teams, as the Devils get a cheap depth piece that could help them make a push towards becoming a Stanley Cup contender, while the Canucks get a bit more draft capital to add to their pool of future prospects. With Curtis Lazar being traded to the New Jersey Devils, the Vancouver Canucks now have a hole in their lineup that needs to be filled. While Lazar wasn't a key piece for the Canucks, he did provide some depth in their bottom six and on the penalty kill. So, how can the Canucks replace him? The Canucks have some promising prospects in their system who could step up and fill Lazar's role. Jonah Gadjovich and Cole Lind have both had strong seasons in the AHL and could be ready for an NHL opportunity. Gadjovich, in particular, is known for his physicality and net front presence, which could make him a good fit in the bottom six. What do you think of Lazar's trade? Comment below. Have any suggestions for the Canucks to replace Lazar? Let us know in the comments. There are still some free agents available who could fill Lazar's role. Players like Riley Sheahan, Casey Cizikas, and Nate Thompson could all provide depth in the bottom six and on the penalty kill. Sheahan, in particular, is a strong defensive forward who could help improve the Canucks' penalty kill. The Canucks could also look to make a trade to replace Lazar. With the trade deadline approaching, there could be some options available. Players like Derek Ryan, Blake Coleman, and Barclay Goodrow could all be available and would provide depth in the bottom six and on the penalty kill. Of course, making a trade would require the Canucks to give up assets, so they would need to weigh the cost versus the benefit. Finally, the Canucks could choose to shuffle their lineup and move some players around to fill Lazar's role. Tyler Mott and Brandon Sutter are both players who could move down to the bottom six and take on a bigger role. The Canucks could also experiment with some different line combinations to see what works best. Overall, while losing Lazar is not a significant loss for the Canucks, they will need to find a way to replace him and fill the hole in their lineup. Whether it's bringing up a prospect, signing a free agent, making a trade, or shuffling the lineup, the Canucks have options to consider. It will be interesting to see what direction they choose to take. While it's always difficult to predict the future, it's safe to say that the Canucks are likely looking to rebuild their team after a difficult season. Trading Lazar for a draft pick is one way to do that, as they can now use that pick to help restock their prospect pool and build for the future. It's also worth noting that this trade clears a contract from the books for the Canucks, though it's not an overly expensive one. With Lazar's departure, the team will now have a bit more flexibility when it comes to making moves in the future. As for the Devils, they get a player who can provide depth and help them make a push towards the playoffs. While Lazar may not be a superstar, he's a solid player who can contribute in a variety of ways. And, considering that the cost of acquiring him was just a fourth-round pick in the 2024 NHL Draft, it's a low-risk move for the Devils. Overall, the trade of Curtis Lazar from the Vancouver Canucks to the New Jersey Devils for a fourth-round pick in the 2024 NHL Draft makes sense for both teams. The Canucks get a bit more draft capital to help rebuild their team for the future, while the Devils get a cheap depth piece that can help them make a push towards the playoffs. It remains to be seen how things will play out in the long run, but it's clear that both teams made a move that they felt was in their best interests. If you want to stay up to date on all the latest NHL news and trades, hit the like button and subscribe to our channel now.